We are so happy to welcome back Mark Manske, a wildlife biologist and professor at Paul Smith College and the author of books for kids and young teenagers called Adventures with Stoney, about a wildlife biologist who goes on all kinds of adventures. And Mark, those books are based on your real life experiences as a wildlife biologist and a longtime biology teacher in high school.
Yep, that's true. Developing my writing technique and starting to make some stuff up, but a lot of it's based on real life, yes.
The series follows the adventures of Stoney, his dog Reggie, his owl Morley, while at the same time educating young readers about nature, wildlife, and conservation. And was that the goal right from the beginning, that you really wanted to teach kids about nature and wildlife?
Definitely. I taught high school for 27 years, and when I was done, I said, what can I do to still educate kids, but not in a school setting?
You have 9 books now. We will get to the latest one that's just been released in just a moment. Along with your books, you visit schools throughout northern New York, and you usually bring along one of your owls, like the one here today, Percy. We also want to welcome Molly Sullivan, one of your students at Paul Smith College. Molly, nice to have you here with us today. Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about Percy? What kind of an owl is he?
Well, Percy is a burrowing owl. Burrowing owls, you know, you can find them down in Florida or out west of the Mississippi or in the prairie provinces. Percy came to me from a breeder in Maryland.
And this is a time of year when you and Molly and other students, you're actually hard at work. You're banding owls this fall. Tell us why you do that and what type of owls you band.
We band the saw-whet owls. Saw-whet owls are slightly smaller than Percy here. They come through in huge waves because they're migratory. We connected up with this project called Project OwlNet, and what they're figuring out is we had it all wrong. Population's not doing badly, but you know, if you don't study things and keep an eye on them, that's when you lose things. And how are you going to know if you don't put a band on them? How do you know a saw-whet owl looks like a saw-whet owl looks like a saw-whet owl till you put a band on it? Then it becomes an individual, and then we can monitor them. Yeah.
And Molly, what do you study at Paul Smith College?
I study wildlife and fishery science.
You do, and so that's why you help with the banding of the owls. Why do you do it? What do you enjoy about helping with the banding?
I mean, I love being part of a project that just kind of helps to learn about these species and to actually help out with that kind of scientific discovery.
And Mark, we also have you here because you've just released book number 9. We were talking about the Adventures with Stoney series that you've been writing, and book 9 is just out.
Yeah, and I'm excited about book 9, Gabboons and the Haunted Lighthouse. And it's all about the lighthouse on Valcour Island. It's kind of a spooky story about the haunted lighthouse. And true to form, we have all kinds of little small stories in there that have happened to me through my lifetime that helps me to build the story. You know, I try and write stories about the region, and I've had some about the Potsdam area and the Messina area, and this is the first real big one in the Plattsburgh area with Valcour Island and Lake Champlain. And we got one coming up soon that's going to be all the way down in Central Park. Molly's going to be in the next book, and that's over at the Great Camp Sagamore. So we're trying to hit all over the North Country and especially the Adirondacks.
And you are. And without giving too much away, what's the mystery about the lighthouse in Lake Champlain?
Well, with the lighthouse in Lake Champlain, if you recall your history, we had the big war, the Revolutionary War, the big naval battle where Benedict Arnold fought against the British. Well, according to the story, the ghost of Benedict Arnold is haunting the lighthouse. And Jonas, one of my Gabboons, who is in most of the books, he has an encounter with the ghost. And I'm going to leave it at that.
All right. And you talk about Gabboons. Gabboons is in the title, and Gabboons are in all your books. Remind us, what are Gabboons?
Well, this is a Gabboon. Gabboons, The name Gabboon came from the Hammerstroms, were the people who I worked under, and they were grad students of Aldo Leopold. And so I don't know if they came up with it or Leopold did, but the word Gabboon means apprentice.
Okay. And Molly, you're a real-life Gabboon here today holding Percy, and as you mentioned, Mark, Molly is going to be in book number 10, which we'll get to in just a few moments. When you started writing adventures with Stoney, what was it that made you decide that you were going to focus on books for younger readers, for young teenagers and kids?
That age group is where, there's a couple times during people's reading lifetimes where you lose a lot of kids, a lot of people, and one of them is that middle school age. And I thought this would be a good time to maybe hit them, grab some attention, maybe develop some readers.
And you worked with owls, so was that an obvious decision for you to make an owl one of your main characters?
Oh yeah. I mean, owls, they just grab people's attention.
So book 9 is out now, in time for Thanksgiving. What about, and Molly's going to be in book 10. Where are you with book 10? Or is that coming within the next few months?
Book 10 and 11, both manuscripts have been written. Basically, I'm on my artist schedule because my artist, who is amazing, Trish Varney, is incredible.
Yep.
But she also is a high school teacher. So I have to kind of play around with, she's got a full-time job, she's got a family, that type of thing. She's working on the artwork for book 10 for May 1st, so I can get the book out by about the 4th of July.
Okay.
And then the next book, book 11, around Thanksgiving time.
Fantastic. Yeah. And titles yet for them? Working titles?
The one Molly's in is Gabboons and the Owls of Great Camp Sagamore.
Okay, yeah.
Because years ago, Great Camp Sagamore, the people there talked to me, they had long-eared owls roosting in the back in the eaves of the main lodge.
Oh, no kidding.
And we were going to go ban them, and I thought, this would be so cool. And then book 11 is going to be Gabboons at Central Park, which kind of touches on, I don't know if you heard the story of Flacco the owl.
Sure. And for the folks, they may have heard a little bit about it. Flacco escaped from...
Flacco, somebody broke into the Central Park Zoo and vandalized the zoo, and they let the owl go.
Yeah.
And I get it. They're thinking, it's an owl. It needs to be free. Owls are birds, they need to fly. To which I say, when was the last time you saw a penguin fly? Not all birds fly. When Flacco first got loose, I contacted Central Park. I said, here's who I am. I'm a licensed bander for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. In my lifetime, we've caught and banded well over 7,000 wild birds of prey, and I offered to go down and help catch them, but I think the people down there who released them were hanging around and being very militant, and I think the park was trying to diffuse a negative situation. But they did the bird a disservice. I mean, it was 13 when he got loose. When he was released, he was 14 when he died. And he had 4 different types of rodenticides in his body, 2.5 times the lethal dose. So he was flying around in a chemically induced stupor for most of that time that he was free. And he flew into a window and broke his neck.
Yeah. So you'll work a few of those lessons perhaps into the book?
Well, we were going to write about Flacco, but then I thought, well, Flacco's already passed, and we're going to use that as an educational tool. I'm sad he passed, but at least we can talk about rodenticides.
For folks that would love to read your books, where can they find them?
I have 2 websites, AdirondackRaptors.org, but my other one, adventureswithstoney.com, you can actually order right off the website.
Okay. Molly, thank you so much. Mark, great seeing you again. We appreciate you stopping by. Congratulations on book 9, book 10, and 11 coming in the months ahead. Thank you both for taking the time to be here with us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.